This North Island kokako bird is about to move into a new home in the Waitakere Ranges. Sadly, there are not many of her kind left now. Relocating her to this protected area may help restore the kokako throughout New Zealand. The Ark in the Park project was set up to protect native wildlife in the Waitakere Ranges. Ark in the Park chairman John Summich has helped to develop the project from its very beginning.
Ark in the Park was a concept 10 years ago, and based on the work done by Department of Conservation on the mainland islands, where by having traps and baits in forest you could protect the native birds and species in that forest. This whole area of the Waitakeres was chosen after looking at some 15 different possible sites, and this area around the Cascades not only had the infrastructure in terms of tracks, road access, but also had good biodiversity with there are Hochstetter's frogs and bats in this area, as well as good numbers of the usual native birds in New Zealand forests. Our plan was to build on that existing biodiversity and expand it. So the project has grown from strength to strength, and this release at the moment of kokako has certainly been one of the first goals. Kokako were in these forests up to the 1950s, in fact, but they died out. Just checking the stoat trap. Our volunteers check stoat traps weekly using egg or rabbit as lures. Stoats are one of the most nasty predators for the kokako, so we're quite keen to get rid of those. Kokako are vulnerable because they're a long-lived bird. They only have 2 or sometimes 3 chicks a year. The females can also be predated on the nest.
In order to help the kokako, Paul Jansen and his group of volunteers have travelled to Rangitoto Station Reserve in the central North Island. Here they will capture wild kokako for translocation to the Waitakere Ranges.
New Zealand's forest has evolved over a long period of time, and all the elements in that forest, including kokako, are key components of that ecosystem. Without intervention, you could have kissed kokako goodbye, and certainly within the next 20 years they would have been extinct on the mainland of New Zealand. So it's imperative, if we are to maintain kokako on the mainland.
First, Paul and his crew must clear the site for the kokako trap.
The things we've chopped down, we sort of pick on things which are fast growing and aren't, regenerating canopy species. So things like this panga or wiki here, even though these things might be 40 or 50 years old, light well like this, these things will spring back up again. You haven't signed the form yet, so you're fully uncovered. Catching kokako is a little difficult. There's a couple of things. One is that they generally like singing from high points in the canopy of the forest, and that means that everything has to happen at a significant height to catch the birds, so our mist nets have to be up in the air.
At dawn, the volunteers return to the net site. They wait silently as kokako songs are played to lure any nearby kokako into the trap.
Problem today with the breeze, it's hard to hear the birds coming, so they can be here or move around and you're not quite sure where they are, and it's about calling them in with those speakers, so it's not just left and right, as far as either side of the net, but also bringing them up to the middle of the net before you swap the speaker, so you're fiddling with this speaker and playing snippets of song to get them to the centre, so when they jump across to the other side, to the left, that they're being smack dab in the middle of the net. Now make a wish.
A bellbird has become tangled in the kokako trap, so volunteers are forced to bring down the net to set it free.
He's a male bellbird, and you can tell that because he hasn't got a white stripe from his gape, which makes him either.
Today the hunters have not been successful, but it is only the beginning. They will spend 2 months in the bush to capture 20 birds for the new Waitakere population. Back in the Waitakeres, David Bradley is setting up acoustic anchoring. Kokako recordings will be played to the kokako when they are released. This will encourage the kokako to stay in the protected area by making them feel more at home.
The fact that there are no birds already in the Waitakeres means that acoustic anchoring is even more important than it would be when there's an existing core population, because they have no other birds from which to learn where the good territories are. Basically everything's contained within this case here. And the idea is that the power comes from the car battery here in through the side of the case, through a battery adapter, which is put on a timer here to turn on every morning. And then that comes again through here, through some fuses and into an amplifier, which is then fed by the iPod here. And then the signal comes out here through the wires and then up into the tree there. Kokako are known to exhibit different dialects, and the birds that are coming in for this translocation are coming from 2 different dialect areas.
Today, the first kokako will be released. Hazel Speed, a dock worker, has travelled all night to bring the birds here. This kokako is a male and is not going to be handled without putting up a struggle.
It's not really a flesh eater, it just looks that way at the time.
Visitors feed him a nectar mix and mashed banana to help build up his strength before he is released.
As a biologist, I get to watch their behavior, which makes me a bit of a voyeur, I suppose. But I enjoy watching, the pairs and their interactions, and the pairs with their offspring, and they're such devoted parents, feeding them and looking after them, that I'm one of the privileged people who gets to see the inside private life of a kokako. This translocation of kokako is important because it's part of the Kokako Recovery Group's aim to get kokako spread throughout the North Island.
This is the female kokako we met earlier. Moving house is stressful, and she is already a little nervous with all the media attention, so Hazel lets her go quickly.
Maybe they will find each other and true love will form here in the Waitakeres, but kokako are choosy about their mates, so they may not form a pair.